Everybody talks about power and the peak where the best engines can rev up to. These engines do not excel in either, but they are definitely interesting how low they can actually run. Sure, some provide decent amount of power, but it's the torque and low redline which make them a bit cooler. Hudson Hornet, being the first on this list, is powered by a straight 6 of a very large displacement, similar to a small block V8. The Hudson is known for crushing 8-cylinder competitors on the NASCAR road tracks in the 50s. The engine was the largest passenger car 6-cylinder with 127 horsepower at 3800 RPM. There was also a 210 horsepower engine with racing-inspired bits and pieces. It's not a high-revving screamer, but surely a torque monster at low and mid RPM. Originally, Hudson Hornet never came with a self-made V8. Varying information on the internet, so it's not clear, but possibly both the Zil-130 and 131 share the same engine. First, it was an experimental 5.2 liter that was deemed to be lacking power and insufficient. At the last, the decision was to make it a 6 liter V8 with 150 horsepower, mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox with a full-time all-wheel drive. Both the 130 and 131 were made alongside on the production line, with almost 3.4 and 1 million units built altogether respectively. Bedford OB came just before the World War II, with only 73 examples built prior to the war, later produced in up to 13,000 examples until 1951. All of them came with a overhead valve straight 6 unit, turning only 3000 RPM at most. The engine had 74 horsepower, and supposedly only about 100 of them has survived to this very day. GMC 702 is a V12, and America has only produced a handful of automotive 12-cylinder engines, and even less of them are burning petrol. The 702 unit was a part of the Big Block V6 engine series, with only 5,000 produced, and perhaps only 200 surviving to this day. The engine was built around a single cast block with a single piece 82 kg heavy crankshaft. The final weight was about 680 kilograms, and more than 50 parts were shared with the V6 big block. There were 56 head bolts, and the engine had 4 piston rings per piston. Next comes Daimler-Benz DB 601. The DB series is not only a low-revving engine series, but also a unique one, being inverted, with the head at the bottom and crankshaft at the top. Therefore, it was a dry sump engine with two scavenging pumps using direct injection and gear-driven supercharger. It peaked out with almost 1200 horsepower, with a continuous power of 1000 horsepower. There were some interesting features like the connecting rods running on roller bearings, 5 piston rings with twin oil scraping rings, with one of them being underneath the piston pin. Curtiss-Wright R975 Whirlwind is a family of air-cooled 9-cylinder engine series using a supercharger. The peak RPM varied between 2000 to 2300, depending on a version. They were used in dozens of aircrafts and even armored vehicles like Sherman. It was produced by Wright in over 7,000 examples and under license by Continental in more than 53,000. There is one record this engine holds, and is the first non-stop 5,000-mile flight from New York City to Istanbul. Next one is Ford N Series, and it is a popular tractor engine. It was introduced in late 30s and was basically a 2-liter flathead 4-cylinder engine. It was combined either to a 3 or 4-speed transmission, also with a power takeoff at the backside, and also 3-point hitch. It was sold for $585 in 1939, about $11,000 today, but still it was a half of the competitors' price tags at the time. The last one on this list is a very low revving engine. It's the Aultman Taylor 3060, and it is also a tractor, being 2-wheel drive, weighing 11 tons. It features one of the largest 4-cylinder engines in a 4-wheeler, mated to a single-speed gearbox with 1 forward gear and 1 reverse. The engine is laid down, with the head aiming to the back of the tractor, redlining at 550 RPM. The engine requires 454 liters of coolant. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you like it, and please like the video if you want to see more of them. This is how the YouTube works, and we'll show you more such videos. Thank you again, and see you in the next one. Cheers!